Field Marshal Garnet Joseph Wolseley, 1st Viscount Wolseley KP, GCMG, VD, PC was an Anglo-Irish officer in the British Army. He became one of the most influential and had-made British generals after a series of successes in Canada, West Africa, and Egypt, followed by a central role in modernizing the British Army in promoting efficiency. He served in Burma, the Crimean War, the Indian Mutiny, China, Canada and widely throughout Africa, including his Ashanti campaign and the Nile Expedition against Mahdist Sudan in 1884–85. Wolseley served as Commander-in-Chief of the forces from 1895 to 1900. His reputation for efficiency led to the late 19th century English phrase, "Everything's all Sir Garnet," meaning, all is in order. Education in the Second Burmese War. Born the eldest son of Major Garnet Joseph Wolseley of the King's Own Scottish Borderers and Frances Anne Wolseley, Wolseley was educated in Dublin and first worked in a surveyor's office. Wolseley obtained a commission as an ensign in the 12th Foot on 12 March 1852 without purchase, in recognition of his father's service. He then transferred to the 80th Foot on 13 April 1852, with whom he served in the Second Anglo-Burmese War. He was severely wounded in the thigh on 19 March 1853 in the attack on Donaghue, and was mentioned in dispatches. Promoted to lieutenant on 16 May 1853 and invalid at home, Wolseley transferred to the 84th Regiment of Foot on 27 January 1854, and then to the 90th Light Infantry, at that time stationed in Dublin, on 24 February 1854. He was promoted to captain on 29 December 1854. Crimea. Wolseley accompanied the regiment to the Crimea, and landed at Balaclava in December 1854. He was selected to be an assistant engineer, and attached to the Royal Engineers during the siege of Sevastopol. Wolseley served throughout the siege, where he was wounded at the quarries on 7 June 1855, and again in the trenches on 30 August 1855, losing an eye. After the fall of Sevastopol, Wolseley was employed on the Quartermaster General's staff, assisting in the embarkation of the troops and supplies, and was one of the last British soldiers to leave the Crimea in July 1856. For his services he was twice mentioned in dispatches, received the War Medal with clasp, the 5th class of the French Legion d'Honneur and the 5th class of the Turkish Order of the Mejidi. 6 months after joining the 90th Foot at Aldershot, he went with it in March 1857 to join the troops being dispatched from the Second Opium War. Wolseley was embarked in the transport Transit, which was wrecked in the Strait of Bangka. The troops were all saved, but with only the personal arms and minimal ammunition. They were taken to Singapore, and from there were dispatched to Calcutta on account of the Indian Mutiny. Indian Mutiny of 1857. Wolseley distinguished himself at the relief of Lucknow under Sir Colin Campbell in November 1857, and in the defence of the Alambar position under Outram, taking part in the actions of the 22nd of December 1857, of the 12th of January 1858 and the 16th of January 1858, and also in the repulse of the grand attack of the 21st of February 1858. That March, he served at the final siege and capture of Lucknow. He was then appointed Deputy Assistant Quartermaster General on the staff of Sir Hope Grant's OUDH Division, and was engaged in all of the operations of the campaign, including the actions of Bari, Sarsi, Nawabganj, the capture of Faizabad, the passage of the Gumti and the action of Sultanpur. In the autumn and winter of 1858–59 he took part in the Baiswara, Trans-Gogra and Trans-Rapti campaigns, ending with the complete suppression of the rebellion. For his services he was frequently mentioned in dispatches, and having received the Mutiny Medal and Clasp, he was promoted to brevet major on 24 March 1858 and to brevet lieutenant colonel on 26 April 1859. Wolseley continued to serve on Sir Hope Grant's staff in OUDH, and when Grant was nominated to the command of the British troops in the Anglo-French expedition to China of 1860, accompanied him as the Deputy Assistant Quartermaster General. He was present at the action at Sinho, the capture of Tangkou, the storming of the Taku forts, the occupation of Shenzhen, the Battle of Patishou and the entry into Peking. He assisted in the re-embarkation of the troops before the winter set in. He was mentioned, yet again, in dispatches, and for his services received the medal and 2 clasps. On his return home he published the narrative of the war with China in 1860. He was given the substantive rank of Major on 15 February 1861, Canada. In November 1861, Wolseley was one of the special service officers sent to Canada in connection with the Trent incident. In 1862, shortly after the Battle of Antietam, Wolseley took leave from his military duties and went to investigate the American Civil War. He befriended Southern sympathizers in Maryland, who found him passage into Virginia with a blockade runner across the Potomac River. There he met with the generals Robert E. Lee, James Longstreet and Stonewall Jackson. He also provided an analysis on Lieutenant General Nathan Bedford Forrest. The New Orleans Picayune published Wolseley's 10-page portrayal of Forrest, which condensed much of what was written about him by biographers of the time. This work appeared in the Journal of the Southern Historical Society in the same year, and is commonly cited today. Wolseley addressed Forrest's role at the Battle of Fort Pillow near Memphis, Tennessee in April 1864, in which black USCT troops and white officers were alleged by some to have been slaughtered after Fort Pillow had been conquered. Wolseley wrote, "I do not think that the fact that one half of the small garrison of a place taken by assault was either killed or wounded evinced any very unusual bloodthirstiness on the part of the assailants." Wolseley returned to Canada, where he became a brevet colonel on 5 June 1865 and assistant quartermaster general in Canada with effect from the same date. He was actively employed the following year in the defense of Canada from Fenian raids launched from the United States. He was appointed Deputy Quartermaster General in Canada on 1 October 1867. In 1869 his Soldier's Pocket Book for Field Service was published, and has since run through many editions. In 1870, he successfully commanded the Red River Expedition to establish Canadian sovereignty over the Northwest Territories and Manitoba. Manitoba had entered Canadian Confederation when the Hudson's Bay Company transferred its control of Western Canada to the government of the Dominion of Canada. British and Canadian authorities ignored the pre-existing government of Assiniboia and botched negotiations with its replacement, the Métis's rebel provisional government headed by Louis Riel. The campaign to put down the rebellion was made difficult by the poor communications at the time. Fort Garry, the capital of Manitoba, was a small centre separated from Ontario by the rocks and forests of the Canadian Shield region. The easiest route to Fort Garry did not pass through the United States and was through a network of rivers and lakes extending for 600 miles. From Lake Superior, infrequently traversed by non-Aboriginals, and where no supplies were obtainable, the admirable arrangements made and the careful organization of the transport reflected great credit to the commander, who upon his return home was made a Knight Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George on the 22nd of December 1870, and a Companion of the Order of the Bath on the 13th of March 1871. Appointed Assistant Adjutant General at the War Office in 1871, he furthered the Cardwell schemes of army reform. Ashanti. In 1873, Wolseley commanded the expedition to the Ashanti, and, having made all his arrangements at the Gold Coast before the arrival of the troops in January 1874, was able to complete the campaign in 2 months, and re-embark them for home before the unhealthy season began. This was the campaign which made him a household name in Britain. At the Battle of Amophil on the 31st of January of that year, Wolseley's expedition faced the numerically superior Chief Amankwasha's army in a 4-hour battle. They advanced through thick bush in loose squares, and after 5 days fighting ending with the Battle of Ordashu, entered the capital Kumasi, which he burned. He received the thanks of both Houses of Parliament and a grant of £25,000, was promoted to Brevet Major General for distinguished service in the field on the 1st of April 1874, received the Medal and Clasp and was made Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George on the 31st of March 1874, and a Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath. The freedom of the City of London was conferred upon him with a Sword of Honour, and he was made Honorary DCL of Oxford and D of Cambridge Universities. On his return home he was appointed Inspector General of Auxiliary Forces with effect from the 1st of April 1874. However, in consequence of the indigenous unrest in Natal, he was sent to that colony as Governor and General commanding on the 24th of February 1875. Wolseley accepted a seat on the Council of India in November 1876 and was promoted to the substantive rank of Major General on the 1st of October 1877. Having been promoted to Brevet Lieutenant General on the 25th of March 1878, he went as High Commissioner to the newly acquired possession of Cyprus on the 12th of July 1878, and in the following year to South Africa to supersede Lord Chelmsford in command of the forces in the Zulu War, and as Governor of Natal and the Transvaal and the High Commissioner of Southern Africa. Wolseley, with his Ashanti ring of adherents, was sent to Durban, but on arrival in July, he found that the war in Zululand was practically over, and, after effecting a temporary settlement, he went on to the Transvaal. He was promoted to Brevet General while serving in South Africa on the 4th of June 1879. Having reorganized the administration there and reduced the powerful King Sekukune to submission, he returned to London in May 1880. For his services in South Africa he was awarded the South Africa Medal with Class, and was advanced to Knighthood Cross of the Order of the Bath on the 19th of June 1880. Finally, as if to signify a meteoric rise in imperial esteem, he was appointed Quartermaster General to the forces on the 1st of July 1880. Egypt and Commander-in-Chief. On the 1st of April 1882, Wolseley was appointed Adjutant General to the forces, and, in August of that year, given command of the British forces in Egypt under Muhammad Ali and his successors to suppress the Urabi revolt. Having seized the Suez Canal, he then disembarked his troops at Ismailia and, after a very short campaign, completely defeated Urabi Pasha at the Battle of Tel el-Kabir, thereby suppressing yet another rebellion. For his services, he was promoted to the substantive rank of general on the 18th of November and raised to the peerage as Baron Wolseley of Cairo and of Wolseley in the county of Stafford. He also received the thanks of Parliament and the Egypt Medal with Clasp, the Order of Osmania, First Class, as bestowed by the Khedive, and the more dubious accolade of a composition in his honor by poet Sir William Topaz McGonagall. On the 1st of September 1884, Wolseley was again called away from his duties as Adjutant General, to command the Nile Expedition for the relief of General Gordon and the besieged garrison at Khartoum. Wolseley's unusual strategy was to take an expedition by boat up the Nile and then to cross the desert to Khartoum, while the naval boats went on to Khartoum. The expedition arrived too late. Khartoum had been taken, and Gordon was dead. In the spring of 1885, complications with Imperial Russia over the Panjta incident occurred, and the withdrawal of the particular expedition followed. For his services there, he received 2 clasps to his Egyptian medal, the thanks of Parliament, and on the 19th of August 1885 was created Viscount Wolseley of Wolseley in the county of Stafford, and a Knight of the Order of St. Patrick. At the invitation of the Queen, the Wolseley family moved from the former home at 6 Hill Street, London to the much grander Ranges House in Greenwich in autumn 1888. Wolseley continued at the War Office as Adjutant General to the forces until 1890, when he became Commander-in-Chief, Ireland. He was promoted to be a Field Marshal on the 26th of May 1894, and appointed by the Conservative government to succeed the Duke of Cambridge as Commander-in-Chief of the forces on the 1st of November 1895. This was the position to which his great experience in the field and his previous signal success at the War Office itself had fully entitled him, but it was increasingly irrelevant. Field Marshal Viscount Wolseley's powers in that office were, however, limited by a new order in council, and after holding the appointment for over 5 years, he handed over the command-in-chief to his fellow Field Marshal Earl Roberts, on the 3rd of January 1901. He had also suffered from a serious illness in 1897, from which he never fully recovered. The unexpectedly large force required for the initial phase of the Second Boer War was mainly furnished by means of the system of reserves which Wolseley had originated, but the new conditions at the War Office were not to his liking. The fiasco now called Black Week culminated in his dismissal over Christmas-tide 1900. Upon being released from responsibilities, he brought the whole subject before the House of Lords in a speech. Lord Wolseley was gold-stick-in-waiting to Queen Victoria and took part in the funeral procession following the death of Queen Victoria in February 1901. Honorific and royal appointments. In early 1901, Lord Wolseley was appointed by King Edward to lead special diplomatic mission to announce the King's succession to the governments of Austria-Hungary, Romania, Serbia, Turkey and Greece. During his visit to Constantinople, the Sultan presented him with the Order of Osmania set in brilliance. He was admitted to the Order of Merit on the 9th of August 1902 by invitation of the King Emperor, and awarded the Volunteer Officers' Decoration on the 11th of August 1903. He was also Honorary Colonel of the 23rd Middlesex Regiment from the 12th of May 1883, Honorary Colonel of the Queen's Rifle Volunteer Brigade, the Royal Scots from the 24th of April 1889, Colonel of the Royal Horse Guards from the 29th of March 1895, and Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Irish Regiment from the 20th of July 1898. In retirement he was a member of the Council of the Union Castle Steamship Company. He died on the 26th of March 1913, at Menton on the French Riviera. He was buried on the 31st of March 1913 in the crypt of St. Paul's Cathedral, to music played by the band of the 2nd Battalion Royal Irish Regiment, of which he was the first Colonel-in-Chief. Family. Wolseley was married in 1867 to Louisa, the daughter of Mr. A. Erskine. His only child, Frances, was an author and founded the College for Lady Gardeners at Glynde. She was heiress to the Viscountcy under special remainder. Channel Tunnel. Wolseley was deeply opposed to Sir Edward Watkins' attempt to build a Channel tunnel. He gave evidence to a parliamentary commission that the construction might be calamitous for England. He added that, no matter what fortifications and defences were built, there would always be the peril of some continental army seizing the tunnel exit by surprise. Various contrivances to satisfy his objections were put forward, including looping the line on a viaduct from the cliffs of Dover and back into them, so that the connection could be bombarded at will by the Royal Navy. For a combination of reasons, over 100 years were to pass before a permanent link was made. Legacy. There is an equestrian statue of Wolseley in Horse Guards Parade in London. This was sculpted by Sir William Goscombe John R.A. and erected in 1920. Wolseley Barracks, at London, Ontario, is a Canadian military base, established in 1886. It is on the site of Wolseley Hall, the first building constructed by Canadian government specifically to house an element of the newly created permanent force. Wolseley Barracks has been continuously occupied by the Canadian Army since its creation, and has always housed some element of the Royal Canadian Regiment. At present, Wolseley Hall is occupied by the Royal Canadian Regiment Museum and the regiment's 4th Battalion, among other tenants. The white pith helmet still worn as part of the full-dress uniform of the RCN is known as a Wolseley helmet. Wolseley is also a senior boys' house at the Duke of York's Royal Military School. Field Marshal Lord Wolseley is commemorated by tablet at St Michael and All Angels Church in Colwich, Staffordshire, a short distance from Shugborough Hall and Wolseley Park at Colwich, near Rugeley. The church was the burial place of the Wolseley Baronets of Wolseley Park, of whom Field Marshal Lord Wolseley was a distant relative. W.S. Gilbert of Gilbert and Amp Sullivan deliberately modelled the character of Major General Stanley in the operetta The Pirates of Penzance on Wolseley, as did George Groves-Smith, the actor who first created the role in the opening theatrical run. In another of Gilbert and Amp Sullivan's operettas, Patience, Colonel Calverley praises Wolseley in the phrase, skill of Sir Garnet in thrashing a cannibal. The residential areas of Wolseley in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, located in the west-central part of the city, and of Wolseley in Saskatchewan, Canada, are named after him. The town of Wolseley in the Western Cape, South Africa, is named after Sir Garnet Joseph Wolseley. It was established on the farm Goach of Ondon in 1875 and attained municipal status in 1955. Prior to this it was known as Ceres Road. The Sir Garnet pub in the centre of Norwich, overlooking the historic marketplace and City Hall, is named after Field Marshal Lord Wolseley. The pub opened in about 1861 and adopted the name Sir Garnet Wolseley in 1874, changed after a brief closing to Sir Garnet. In recognition of his success, an expression arose, all Sir Garnet, meaning that everything is in good order. Bibliography. Bales, Howard. Technology and Imperialism, a case study of the Victorian Army in Africa. Victorian Studies 24.1, 83-104. In JSDOR. Black, Jeremy. Great Military Leaders and Their Campaigns. Thames and Amp. Hudson. pp. 232-233. ISBN 978-0-500-25145-4. Bond, Brian. The Retirement of the Duke of Cambridge. Journal of the Royal United Services Institute for Defence Studies. 106, 544-553. Bradley, Ian C. The Complete Annotated Gilbert and Amp Sullivan. Oxford University Press. ISBN 978-0198167105. Hammer, William Spencer. The British Army, Civil-Military Relations, 1885 to 1905. Heathcote, Tony. The British Field Marshals, 1736 to 1997. Pen and Amp, Sword Books Limited. ISBN 0850526965. Koshansky, H.M. Field Marshal Viscount Wolseley as Commander-in-Chief, 1895 to 1900. A reassessment. Journal of Strategic Studies, 20.2, 119 to 139. Koshansky, Halleck. Sir Garnet Wolseley, Victorian Hero. London, Hambledon Press. ISBN 1852851880. Layman, Joseph. Sir Garnet, A Life of Field Marshal Lord Wolseley. London, J. Cape. Assenby 0014 Big USRS. Spears, Edward M. The Late Victorian Army, 1868 to 1902. Manchester, History of the British Army. Tabor, Paddy. The Household Cavalry Museum. Ajanta Book Publishing. ISBN 9781848208827. Wessels, André. The British Army in 1899. Problems that hampered preparations for war in South Africa. Journal for Contemporary History, 28.2. Whitespun, Barney. Horse Guards. Macmillan. ISBN 1-40505574-X. Primary sources: Wolseley, Garnet. The Story of a Soldier's Life. Charles Scribner's Sons, New York. Assenby 008 GHUGD.